Hello everyone, welcome to NowNowServicenow. Today we are starting a series of videos on client scripts. Now why I need to start a separate series on a very small topic? This could be the obvious question. Well, the reason is that while I was learning ServiceNow, I myself faced many issues in understanding client scripts, how to write them and why they are there at the very first place. And it took me, time to understand the basics of client scripts. So in this series, I'm gonna create 4 videos explaining the types of client scripts in ServiceNow with their basic examples. And later on, gradually, we will cover, some of the common use cases of these. Now I'm gonna start from the very beginning, and the examples that are gonna be in this series will be like will be like what a noob will do while starting to learn about, client scripts. Well, to begin with, the very first thing you need is a very basic understanding of JavaScript. And well, if you don't have any experience in JavaScript, don't worry, I got you covered. In this series, I'm going to be using very basic examples and, which will help you in understanding JavaScript in a much better way. We will not be deviating from our topic of client scripts, of course, but yeah, JavaScript is a main ingredient of client script. So while we gradually move forward, your JavaScript skills will also be enhanced. So let's begin. Okay, so this is how a developer portal of ServiceNow looks like, and you know, uh, there is no fee required to access this portal. You can access this portal for free. You can just register on it and get a free instance of ServiceNow for just testing and enhancing your skills. So let's begin. Now, as I told you that we will be learning client scripts using live examples and use cases. So let's begin with creating a client script first. Okay. So there are many client scripts which are there by default if you request an instance which has demo data installed in it. So you can just have a look at them and find out what they do. Okay, so I'll just click on new. Now the very first thing that I need to do is to select a table that this client should be applicable to which table. Now in short, if we want to if you want to if I tell you in layman terms what ServiceNow basically is, so ServiceNow is just in layman terms, I'm telling you, it's not the general definition of it. It's a tool which has a database in which there is data, and then you write scripts over it. Okay, what those scripts do? They just manipulate the data and show the data in different forms. Okay, so I'll be selecting incident table as of now, and UI type is all. Okay, now there are 4 types of client scripts. The very first one is onCellEdit. Now what this onCellEdit client script does is that it makes the client script run on a list view of a table. Okay, it is not applicable to form view. Now those of you who don't know what list view and form view is, just have some patience. Let's open incident form. Okay, now I'm writing it as incident, okay, dot list. Why? uh, because I want to open incident table in a list view. So ServiceNow is a tool which has variety of tables, n number of tables. You can even create your own tables, and there are scripts which controls the which controls the data and which manipulates the data and which displays the data from those tables. Okay, so this is now again coming back to, if I wrote incident dot list, if I wrote it in capitals, then what it will do, it will open incident table in a new tab. And if I wrote incident dot list in small, uh, then it will open incident table in the same tab. Okay, so now this is list view. Okay, and you can modify the number, the columns which you want to show in this. So these all are all columns which are there in on this incident table. Take it as an SQL database in which you have different columns. These are pre-created columns, and incident table is pre-created in the ITSM package that ServiceNow gives. And yeah, so you can modify, and like for example, I want to see actual start date. Okay, I'll just push it here and I can see that column. Now there is no data in this actual start date, so that's why it's empty. But if there is some data, then it will definitely display over here. So this is the list view. And whenever you open a record, so that view is known as form view. Okay, so this is form view. Form view can also be changed based on your own preferences, but we are not going into deep into that because our topic is just limited to client scripts. So if you want, so I am creating a new client script. Okay, so on onCellEdit, it will work only on list view, that is here. Okay, now how it will work over here? It says onCellEdit. It means I want it will run whenever I'll be changing data in any of the cell. So these all here are cells, different cells. For example, I'm changing the short description of this incident, okay, to test. Okay, so I performed an action, and what is this action? It is cell edit. So whenever there is a client script which is of type onCellEdit, it means that it will be running whenever a cell is edited on a list view. So next comes the on change. All these three, on change, on load, and on submit, they are form level client scripts. Okay, they work on form view. So on change will be working whenever you change data in any of these fields. For example, description I changed. Okay, and the main thing is this client script, it runs on client machine. It means you do not need to submit the form data or something like that in order to run this client script. Okay, onload it onload client script, it basically runs whenever a form is loaded. Okay, for example, I opened an incident or I refresh this incident, so it is an onload. Okay, so at this time this onload client script will run. Now on submit, when this client script will run whenever we perform operations in the database. Okay, from the form view. So here we have update. Okay, update button. So these buttons, all these three buttons over here, they trigger database actions, so such as inserting, deleting, or creating data. So this is just an overview of all these four types of client scripts. Okay, so let's begin with onCellEdit. So let's start with a very basic example, that is displaying an alert box. Okay, alert whenever the cell is changed. We should keep it like whenever the cell data is changed, right? That sounds more okay. Now I kept it as onCellEdit, but on which cell edit? So I'll be choosing short description, for example. As of now, you can choose any of these. Okay, so it means whenever short description is changed on this list view, this script will trigger. Okay, so let's just write a alert hi from script. Okay, I'll explain what this function is and what it does. Okay, so I saved this client script. Now I need to refresh because obviously I wrote a client level script. So for example, I'm changing the short description now. Let it be tester. Okay, so see, it gave me an alert. Why? Because I wrote a client script which will trigger on cell edit and which cell short description. Okay, now this function, if you see closely, it which will run on whenever a cell is edited. So there are 5 parameters in it. The first one is sysid, sysids, table, old values, new value, and callback. Now why sysids? Sysid is because you can modify more than one cells at the same time in ServiceNow. So for that, what you have to do is shift plus down arrow. Okay, so when you do shift plus down arrow, it will select all the cells. And for example, I want to keep all these values at as tester. Just one single click and all the values are set to tester, are changed to tester, being more precise. Okay, so now what I want to do is, let's just explore these. So sysids will be sysids of the records whose data has been changed. Okay, table, the name of the table on which the data was changed. Old values means list of all values that were changed. Okay, Old values means what were the values they had before we assigned them a new value. And callback is a function which I will explain later on. Okay. So now let's just see what the values they have. Okay. These 5 parameters have sysids, alert, table, alert, old values, alert, new values. Okay. Oops. Okay. So let's save this and refresh. Now let's change the value of all these to something else, such as begin. Now it says hi from script because we wrote an alert. Then this is the sys of all these records. Okay. Of all these records that we have updated. The table name. Then comes the old values that were there in the columns. Sorry, in the cells. Okay. And along with that, oops, I did something wrong. Wait. Oh, it's not new values, it's new value. Sorry. Uh, it's new value. Spelling is correct. Cool. Okay, let's refresh it. Begin. Okay. So again, same thing. Alert from script. This is IDs of all the records that are edited. Incident table name, old values, and the new value that we assigned to it. Okay. Now it is changed. The value is updated in all the columns. Now, if you will look closely, there is one more function that is known as callback function. Now, this callback function takes a parameter, which means that uh, now this callback function takes a parameter, okay, which is a Boolean value, either true or false. Now, if we return true in callback function, then what it will do is it will save the data. And if we pass, false in the callback function, then it will not save the data. So let's try it. Okay, let's just remove all these alerts. Let's just keep one alert, high from script. So at least we have, we will know that script is being executed. Let it be false. Okay. Now, whenever I will try to edit the value, for example, test, okay, my script ran, but it didn't save the data. Why? Because I passed false into this callback function. If I pass true always, then what it will do, it will again start saving the data as it was doing before. Test. Okay. Now, for example, I have a, okay, so the best practice is first to store the, Boolean value in a variable and then pass on that variable to this callback function. Now, let's suppose we have a scenario in which it says that the short description should not be test. So let's make the description for this client script be short description should not be short description should not be test. Okay. So what I will do is I'll write an if condition if new value equals to test. If it is new, if it is equals to test, then I don't want to. It means that the value should not be changed. Okay, in short. So I will throw an error. Alert value cannot be test. And I'll call the callback. Sorry, I will set the save and close to false. Okay. Now after that, I'll add an else condition, else block. Now in this else block, I'll set save and closed as true. Okay. Now I'll save this script, and if I refresh, so let's test it. I kept the short description as beginner. Okay, it said hi from script, beginner stored. Now if I try to keep this as test, then it says value cannot be test, and it did not store the value. So this is a basic example of how onCellEdit client script works, and the same can be done with on change, on load, on submit. Okay, so I think that's it for today.